Namaste, dear students. Welcome to the module number 1, Introduction to the Indian Constitution. The necessity of the Constitution. Law is considered as an instrument of social engineering. According to the social contract theory, man is by nature selfish, nasty, and brutish. This quality of human being results in conflicts and chaos. Law aims at resolving conflicting interests of multiple nature. In every country, legal system is created for fair settlement of disputes and promote a rule of law culture. The legal system consists of legislature as lawmaking institution, governance for implementing legislative intent, and judicial wing to adjudicate conflicting claims. However, all these wings derive their validity and force from highest norm in the legal system, which jurists call as the ground norm, which is none other than the constitution of the country. The 26th January 1950 is the golden day in the annals of a country when our constitution came into existence. Constitution is superior law of any nation, which defines nature of government, deals with important organs of the state, their interrelationship, and more importantly, the basic inalienable rights of the citizens known as fundamental rights. The advantages of the citizens, the advantages of the country ruled by the constitution and without it are that constitutional governance creates accountability, responsibility, and creates limitations on exercise of power by various institutions, individuals associated with the constitutional process. However, mere having the constitution without constitutionalism doesn't make sense, as constitutionalism basically envisages system wherein there are checks and balances created within and without the constitution on exercise of power by various constitutional institutions. So, introduction to the Indian Constitution. 300 rule under British has brought about remarkable transformation within Indian society. The introduction, Western system of education led for emergence of new class of educated society who made fellow brethren to feel united for the cause of nation. The system of civil service, networking of the country through railways, education through English, enabled the Indians to overcome narrow barriers of language. Religionism and orthodox social system. But the British policies of divide and rule, exploitation of local situations, hurt the feeling of the nation and sacrifice of freedom fighters. An unique non-violence struggle by Mahatma Gandhi heralded freedom for us on 15th August 1947. The making of the Indian Constitution. Although the Constitution of India came into existence on 26th January 1950, the constitutional institutions evolved over a long period. The Regulating Act of 1773, the Act of Settlement 1781, the Indian Council Act of 1861, the Government of India Act 1919, the Government of India Act 1935 have introduced various Western ideas of legislative representations. Federal government, distribution of powers, federal court, institution of governor general in a phased manner into our system. The Cripps mission, the cabinet mission in 1946, the Indian Independence Act of 1947 has expedited the process of forming the Constituent Assembly for making the Constitution of India. The Constitution, the Constituent Assembly came into existence in November 1946. The members of the Constituent Assembly were elected by the Provisional Assembly by indirect election. After Indian Independence Act 1947, the Constitution Assembly became a fully sovereign body to formulate the Constitution. It consisted of eminent stalwarts representing a wide sections of society such as Rajendra Prasad, Maulana Azad, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, etc. In its first meeting on 9th December 1946, it elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as its chairman. The draft committee, under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, brought out the draft constitution in January 1948. There were 7,635 amendments proposed. The constitution The Constituent Assembly sat for 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days. The Constitution was adopted finally on 26th November 1949, and a few articles came into force immediately, and the remaining one on 26th January 1950. The necessity of the Constitution. Law is considered as an instrument of social engineering. According to the social contract theory, man is by nature selfish, nasty, and brutish. This quality of human being results in conflicts and chaos. Law aims at resolving conflicting interests of multiple nature. In every country, legal system is created for fair settlement of disputes and promote rule of law culture. The legal system consists of legislature as lawmaking institution, governance for implementing legislative intent, and judicial wing to adjudicate conflicting claims. However, all these wings derive their validity and force from highest norm in the legal system, which jurists call as the ground norm, which is none other than the constitution of the country. The preamble conveys the following purposes. The preamble would convey the objectives for which the constitution came into existence. It conveys the source of authority to the constitution, that is, we the people. It also tells the date of coming into existence the constitution of our country. Ever since it is the part of the constitution, it can be amended just like any other part of the constitution. The recent judicial expositions make the extensive use of preamble for upholding the true meaning of the fundamental rights contained in part 3 of the constitution. Let us look into the salient features of the Constitution of India. It is also said as the outstanding feature of our constitution. It is one of the lengthiest constitutions in the world. Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republican of nature. It allows us the directive principles of state policy. It also tells us India as a republican form of government. It also helps us in maintaining the parliamentary system of government. It gives us a strong judiciary. It is a rigid and flexible process of amendment. Fundamental rights. Rights are nothing but an interest of recognized and protected by the legal system. Rights are necessary for peaceful living in society. However, all interests of human being are not recognized, or even if recognized, not protected by a legal system. For example, a person may want to have a homosexual relationship. It may be his interest, but may not be recognized by the legal system. Only those interests which are recognized as well as protected by the legal systems are called as rights. Rights may be of varied nature. There may be human rights, moral rights, ethical rights, legal rights, fundamental rights, etc. Moral rights have its recognition in morality of a person. For example, we may be required to respect our elders, and if someone when does not give respect towards the elders, he may not be punished. After all, he may feel morally guilty as it goes against his consciousness. Neither others can demand for punishment for violation of moral principles. A legal right, on the other hand, is the product of legal system. Violation of it necessarily results in the penal, if not remedial consequences. Example, everyone needs to obey traffic rules. Violation of it results in penalty or imprisonment, as the case may be. A husband needs to look after his wife. If he does not do that duty, he may be required to provide her maintenance. Human rights are broader and are mother of all rights. Although there is no universal definition of human rights are those rights available to all human beings as they are born as human beings in the respective religion, caste, nationality, gender, language, etc. It is really difficult to include what rights come under the umbrella of human rights, as one man's right to get freedom appears to be the act of violence for other. Broadly speaking, a right to live with dignity, to be educated, to marry and continue progeny, right to enjoy natural resources, right of equality, right to express oneself without limitations are considered as broad contours of the human rights. Part of human rights which is very essential, before which a human being cannot survive in this world, is called as fundamental right, which is considered as base inalienable right by itself. For example, it is impossible for one to survive in the world without being assured of a right to live. One cannot stand like a statue, therefore, should be the right of locomotion. There are examples of basic and inalienable rights, and fundamental rights assure the same. These fundamental rights are incorporated in highest law of the nation, Constitution. There are difference between human rights and fundamental rights and legal rights. The human rights are broad and unrestricted in nature. Fundamental rights include only basic basic rights and inalienable rights of human beings. Fundamental rights found in the Constitution of the nation. Human rights are found in international conventions such as Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Legal rights are given by legal system and are product of legislature. Fundamental rights have been created under the Constitution and superior over legal rights. Legal rights can be given and equally withdrawn at any time by the legislature. Fundamental rights cannot be touched by the legislature. Legal rights can be inclusive of any type of restrictions. Fundamental rights have to be restricted only under the reasonable and restrictions clauses provided within the Constitution. Legal rights can be cancelled. There cannot be any question of cancellation of fundamental rights by any authority. Writ petition is available for protection of fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are the sacrosanct. Indian Constitution provided the fundamental rights in Part 3 of the Constitution, starting from Article 12 onwards. The outstanding features of fundamental rights under our Constitution can be summarized as follows. So we have defined with the 6 fundamental rights, namely right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, right to constitutional remedies. Article 14 deals with the general principles of equality. Article 15 deals with the equality principle. No discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, sex, or place of birth. Article 15, subsection 3, special provision for women and children. Article 16, no discrimination on religion, gender, race, place of birth, public employment opportunity. Article 17, ending with practice of untouchability. Article 18, restriction on awarding titles so any individual or institution. Article number 19, it ensures 6 freedoms for each citizens: freedom of speech and expressions, freedom of assembly, freedom to form association or unions or cooperative societies, freedom of movement, freedom to reside and to settle, freedom of profession, occupation, or trade business. The personal freedom. So Article 20 deals with 3 aspects of the protections given for persons accused of crimes. Article 20/1, ex post facto laws. Article 20/2, double jeopardy. Article 20/3 deals with the prohibition against self incrimination. Article 20/1, ex post facto laws means a person can be tried and given punishment for what law in existence. One cannot be given punishment for an offence which was not considered as offence by any law when it was done. And even if it is considered as an offence by subsequent law, there cannot be retrospective criminal liability. Another component of the ex post facto law is that if law increases the punishment for offence, that is applicable for future offenders and not for those who are already undergoing the punishment under the same law. But if the nature of punishment is reduced by law, that advantage would be given to the persons already undergoing the punishment. Double jeopardy, Article 20/2. The second provision says that there shall not be double jeopardy. It means that a person is tried and given with punishment by a court of law. The same person cannot be tried and given the punishment second time for the same offense. It is done. The person can plead double jeopardy under the Indian law. However, there is no ban second trial of a person. Third one is 20, provision number 3, prohibition against the self incrimination. The third principle is that no one shall be compelled to give evidence against himself, which is called as provision against the self incrimination. Investigating agencies cannot force an individual to give incriminating evidence against oneself. However, collection, hair, nail sample, or getting handwriting do not amount for self incrimination. Article 21 deals with the protection of life and personal liberty. 22 deals with the 2 aspects of personal liberty. 23 says traffic in human beings and beggar and with other forced labor prohibition. Article 24 states child below 14 years shall not be employed in any factories and hazardous employment. Article 25 to 27 says about the religious freedom. 28 says no religious instruction shall be imparted in any education institution. Article number 29 and 30 provides the cultural and educational rights. Article 31 gives no person shall be deprived of his property save by the authority of law. Article 32 to 35 deals with the various remedies available for violation of fundamental. Article 36 defines the state. 37 for Part 4 of the Indian Constitution shall not be enforceable in any court of law. Article number 38 social, political, and economic justice. Article number 39 deals with the principles of policy. Article number 39A deals with free legal aid. Article number 40 organization of panchayats. 41 is welfare of government. 42 securing just and human work and maternity relief. The fundamental duties, whatever it is explained earlier, Part 4, which was added by 42nd Amendment Act of 1976, which incorporated Article 51A in accordance with the Swaran Singh Committee recommendations, fundamental duties of Indian citizens, abide by the Constitution and respect the national flag and national anthem, follow ideals of the freedom struggle, protect sovereignty and integrity of India, okay, and many more. The Parliament has every right to pass appropriate legislation, making observance of directive as obligatory in nature. The courts can also issue suitable directions in appropriate cases to make them obligatory. However, the observance of them should be more of mental attitude of citizens as no democracy can survive unless people develop discipline and love their nation, environment, public property and develop scientific temper. Thank you.